It shall be done.
Target designated.
Nuclear launch detected. We're under attack.
Prepare to die.
Imaging complete. Research.
We are vigilant.
Imaging complete. Imaging structure.
It is so on. This is C versus Stork, Group C. It is just on like Donkey Kong. Even though Donkey Kong wasn't an RTS. It's on like Command & Conquer Generals. That was my first RTS. You can all hang your head in shame that that was my first RTS. But it was. In retrospect, it's a pile of crap, but I love that game. You could build bunkers on tanks. I mean, how is that not patched into StarCraft 2 by now? Bunker tanks! That's all you need. But yeah, this is going to be so great, Stork! Stork autograph. Okay, I won't mention that too much more. I promise. Well, I can't promise that I won't mention it 1 or 20 more times, but I'm going to try not to. Even though this is a Stork game. Nuke is excited. I love StarCraft. I really do. I mean, when I'm not commentating StarCraft, I'm usually watching it anyway. Live streams or something. I watch a lot of live streams. Except, down at the 5 o'clock position in red is Stork, up at the 12 o'clock, and Teal, I think, is C. But yeah, I watch StarCraft almost more than I commentate it. I think a lot of my subscribers have actually seen me in some of the Team Liquid streams on the chat, just chatting it up with people. I love watching live Pro League because it's live. You can't see any video links or anything. Oh, of course you have a horn. The Horn of Gondor in the audience. For Gondor! Honk! And then he's shot by 3 arrows and falls over immediately. And then pops back up and says, "Oh, it's just a flesh wound." But anyway, let's move on to this game. I thought that was a Vuvuzela at first. I could hear something out of the side of my ear. I was like, what the hell is that? But yes, it was the Horn of Gondor. But here we go. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I like to watch StarCraft. And one of the most fun series I've watched was actually a week or 2 ago. I forget, it was very recently, maybe this week. I lose track of time because I work at a newspaper. We're always thinking one day ahead, which throws all of us off, but yeah, I watched it was Wunjin Stars versus Samsung Khan. Such a fun series. I mean, at one point at the end of the Jangbi versus who was it? It was some Zerg player, Zero, actually. It was Zero versus Jangbi. At the end of that game, I laughed until I cried. Of course, if you haven't seen that game, I don't want to spoil why, but if you've watched that game, you know why the end was funny. But, wow, I just laughed so hard. I started crying, and then I got back into the chat, and we all talked about it. It was just great, a great night. And there's that one white guy in the audience. You've seen him on my channel before, I'm sure. By the way, it's 14 Command Center. 14 Command Center! From the Seaman. Seaman. Great Dreamcast game. Yes. That one white guy in the audience, Daniel, who I've seen gain infamy on Team Liquid for basically proposing to January. Of course, he didn't actually propose, but he was saying, "I love you," to January, the coach of Samsung Con. And he claims to be the biggest Stork fan, but we all know that that's a complete and utter lie. I mean, it would come down to the wire, I think, because he's been on TV, obviously. But, oh, I thought the command center was coming down at that command center location, but it was a barracks. Very strange. So the command center coming down right next to the barracks. Wow, I'm not sure. This is very strange from C, building that barracks there like that. That was a kind of tricked my eyes a bit. I should have paid attention to the bottom of the screen. The observers probably showed it. But the command center being built, and all right, so he is building the command center after the barracks, but he wanted to get the barracks out there faster just in case there was a 12 Nexus from Stork. But yeah, this is a fun opener already from C. And C is already down 1. Of course, everyone knows that. Stork has already won, and C has already lost. And C, he just can't seem to catch a break in these individual leagues, and I can't seem to figure out why. I think his individual league games come around at a time when he's not playing well, almost all the time. There's Stork blocking his choke with one single zealot, nice block from him that's going to deny the scout and probably destroy the SCV, comes very close to destroying it anyway. But yeah, I can't figure out why C does so poorly in leagues. It's very strange. It really is, because in Pro League he has these ridiculous tears where he just destroys each and every player. But alright, I should get some predictions out of the way. I've been rambling this whole time. Before things heat up, there is the Nexus coming down finally for Stork. C's going to have his economy running a little bit earlier, because he built that command center at a weird location that messed with my eyes. Here's a prediction from Quakey. He writes, or she writes, C is too cute to go out already. He will cute his way through everyone, and his cuteness will bring him the cute recognition he deserves. C is even cuter than the other cute guy, 0. I think it was a man crush there. But there's the robotics facility on the way for Stork. I'd say he's going to probably open this thing out with some Reaver harassment. At least that's what I think Stork will do. He's very good at those Reavers, and it would probably be a good idea to make use of the ledges on this map by going back behind them with a shuttle where they can't be seen. But here is another prediction from Victor Kaiser, writes, Stork will move out of his group with ease. I mean, yeah, Shine's a good player, and so is C, but seriously, Stork can beat Jaedong and Flash in a 1v2, even if he loses his 12 Nexus, so I expect him to absolutely stomp his group and eventually take the OSL title this time. A man after my own heart. There is Stork transferring his probes to the new base. A little bit behind on that transfer, actually. But no big deal. Here's another one from Red Force. Writes, Stork and C should be epic. And need an S-class Protoss to advance, so Stork it is. Here's another one, disparaging one from Shadow God 780 writes, Stork has been lacking for some time lately. I know he's your favorite as well as mine, but unfortunately he isn't the same player he was. I would wholeheartedly disagree. Stork has maintained a very consistent level of awesome-tude for his entire career, which has spanned about 5 years, more than 5 years actually now. But there is the robotic support bay. That means we're going to have some Reaver harassment, as I said. Can C deal with it? He already built his second base. He's going to be stretched a bit thin to deal with this Reaver, I think. But he might be able to do it anyway. He does have that one siege tank there, and that should be enough to protect that natural expansion at least. He might get another second tank out. He does get his second tank out, and that will help him protect his main. So he should be able to fend off the Reaver harassment. But Stork is already working on his third base, already getting that down, so rock on. Alright. Let's get one more prediction because I like this one. Whiskey Romero writes, I predict Stork will sail the 7 seas again. Yes, that was a quote from a Learning and Fun with Bork episode. Might see another one of those one of these days, but we'll see. I make a lot of different series like Bunker Chat and Nuke at Night, and I continue them when I have a good idea for them. But Stork almost scouted that dropship coming his way. This dropship might actually do a ton of damage. Dropship coming down, not being scouted at all. But of course, Stork might be able to drop and get a ton of damage too. But let's see how quickly Stork can react to these troops being dropped into his main. There is one Vulture laying mines to make it more difficult to get to the tank. But now Stork is dropped inside of the main with the Reaver taking down one single SCV, and he dropped a couple of Zealots there too, but that means these are fewer Zealots he's going to be able to use to help himself. Oh, get rid of these troops behind his base. He loses one Dragoon, and the other two are very badly damaged now. So Stork, using the Reaver Scarabs to the best of his ability, gets... Oh, bad luck from Stork. Mine drags into his own Reaver. But of course he didn't know that mine was there. That was ridiculous. More mines being hard for Stork to handle. Finally coming up behind this base. Oh man, more Dragoons going down. And this doesn't look like it's Stork's day. He's not mining at all inside of his main. Let's see if he can pick it up and start mining there again. He does have that third base up. That's something for him at least. Because C, it looks like he hasn't even committed to his third base. He's going straight for more harassment. which might be just as effective as that first drop. A Wraith out for C, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, Dragoons take out Wraiths very quickly, but I guess C needed something to do with that starport now. There's C dropping yet again inside of this main, and that's not going to be as successful. Almost takes down the dropship. Stork! Oh no! Almost loses another one of his Dragoons. He is not having a very good day with these mines. Not a good day at all. And I'm not sure where his observers went, but he's going to need them here. He does have a cannon in. A very smartly built that cannon. And that's going to help against any kind of future harassment too. So C is going to have to come up with another plan soon. Another cannon at this base. C couldn't quite decide what he wanted to do. Very indecisive vulture pilot. But Stork is back on 3 bases, and that's more than C can say. C still focusing in on these 2. He needs to get his 3rd base very quickly. He's going for another harassment soon. Stork actually blocked one mining location with a pylon. He's been out looking for bases that C might have put down, but C has not been focusing very much on his macro, going straight for the micro, straight for the harassment, which has worked out pretty well. I mean, he's taken down plenty of Dragoons already, whittled down the army from Stork, and he's gotten some harassment done, definitely, even though he hasn't taken down a boatload of probes or anything. Okay, he's preparing himself up on this high ground with those tanks. Has those 3 siege tanks in position. And now Stork is coming in anyway, dropping a Dragoon there, getting the Mind Drag on both those tanks. And he has the Reaver in as well. Oh, the Reaver Scarab taking out both the tanks. That was a nice play. Very risky play from Stork, but he gets it done. Some of his shuttle moves are some of the best moves in the game I've ever seen by a Protoss. Like, oh, of course the shuttle wasn't in there to save that Reaver, of course, but I'm thinking back to his games against Fantasy and the finals. Well, that one game on Fantasy, against Fantasy on Medusa, where he dropped a unit and lifted it up, letting the mine explode but not hurt the unit. That is one of my favorite Protoss moves, and I've only seen Stork do it. Another command center being built by C, so he can float that over, get his 3rd base going. Not sure what happened to that other command center. It just kind of disappeared. It got destroyed by Stork, I think. But Stork is keeping C on these 2 bases, and that is the important part. That's what he has to do. That's what he needs to focus all of his energy on. I almost meshed together attention and energy to attenergy, but there you go. So Stork is hanging in here. He knows he can pretty much sacrifice these Dragoons as long as it keeps C at 2 bases. So that's what he's doing, killing all the SCVs here as well. But C taking the low ground with the siege tank. There's Stork trying to micro around and keep the troop count low for C, so C can't move out anytime soon. Stork is taking his 4th base now, and he's going to be heavily over C as long as he continues to mass up units. Fights back any kind of harassment, any kind of a push from C. Because C only has about 1 siege tank that I see. And C looking very frustrated, as he did in the last set against Shine. He looked so frustrated after that game. But Stork throwing down a lot of gateways. A lot of gateways, going to make use of that 4-base macro advantage that he's going to have. There's the base up already, almost up already from Stork. And there's C going to float over his command center, his CC. Going to float that over as soon as he possibly can. When he has the units to defend it, I think. That's what he's waiting for. But going out with another dropship, I believe that Stork scouted that with his observer. Well, he might not have exactly scouted that, but the observer was over it. It's all a matter of if he was paying attention at the time, but there's C out there with a few units. And Stork he built 1 cannon back here. So as long as there isn't a tank in that dropship, Stork should be okay. Oh, the tank being dropped at the high ground. Stork trying to use his probes to fight this off. Getting the surround, actually a pretty nice surround on those vultures. Taking the vultures out. 1 more vulture remains. But that vulture being surrounded, taken down, everything taken down, and Stork actually didn't take too many probe losses in that little engagement. Some of the best probe micro in the game. Stork pulling it off yet again. Killing a few vultures in the middle. Alright, let's see what Stork can do now that he has the macro advantage. There's C floating off, trying to take his 3rd base yet again, but C has been drastically behind on that 3rd base, on his macro this entire game. So there's C trying to get transfer everything, but there's Stork dropping right on top of the tanks. It's risky shuttle play. Is so fun to watch, but dropping the Reaver again. The Reaver goes down, but one more tank was able to be sniped, and that's what he needs right now. He doesn't even have speed upgraded Zealots, but he's going for the killing blow. Slow lots pushing the front. C is very frustrated at the slow lots. He's like, slow lots, you kidding me? OMFG. As the tanks go down, very frustrated C, and he's going to lose pretty much everything. His third base being harassed again by Stork. Stork is very comfortably mining from the 4 bases he has, and that's basically all he'll need to take down C. He just needs to keep on the aggression, keep that third base from coming up. This is a lot like, I think this is a lot like his game against C and the last OSL, as deny that third base. Of course, he did it with carriers on their game on Dreamliner. That was the map. That was a very carrier-friendly map, and yeah, he's doing well on this map without the carriers, but there you go. There's the fifth expansion coming up for Stork, even building another gateway. Of course, 400 gateways are not nearly enough. We need another one. Add another one, Stork. So I'm not really sure why C hasn't GG'd yet, honestly, because he can't secure his third base. He's barely mining from his second base. I'm pretty sure he's mined out inside of his main, so he's clinging to dear life, trying to get another command center out there somewhere. But yeah, here comes Stork. This is most likely going to be the killing blow. Moving in first with the Zealots, and there come finally the speed lots. Those Zealots finally got the leg upgrade. Defensive matrix not going to do a whole lot for that tank, and C hopefully has more D-matrices because he's not going to be able to hold out without them. And there's Stork pushing it with Dragoons, getting rid of the last remaining tanks. And once the last tank goes down, yeah, I think this is going to be it for C. The tanks are what were keeping him in this game. There's a constant stream of troops coming up for Stork as he's taking that 5th base there. That should pop up pretty momentarily. So he'll have just a huge advantage. There are some mines, so Stork might run into those. But nope. All the mines. Oh, the worst mines in the history of mines. Not doing anything to help C. Look at that. Nothing. God, those mines are so lazy. They're almost as lazy as my spider. Those spider mines are almost as lazy as my spider muffin. Just sitting there like, I don't feel like doing anything. Yeah, I'll explode later, you know. I'm gonna watch some TV. There we go. So Stork, moving up. And that's it. Oh, C is so pissed off. I don't blame him. C, you're better than this. Of course, might not be better than Stork, but probably couldn't have taken down Shine if you had played a standard game, and that's got to be the frustrating part here. GG from C, looking visibly frustrated that he's choking out of another individual league. Ridiculous, C. But Stork, my favorite player, ticks yet another win, so 2 wins for Stork, almost guaranteeing himself a spot to move out of this group. Not completely guaranteed, though, so keep on fighting, Bird Toss. Let's move on to Group D.